afternoon and good evening to you, the little people of the tube. Well, today I hope you're getting grand and all is well in your world. Welcome to another Q&A. Q&A 8 to be precise. Good gravy, 8 of these already. Yes, let's get to it, shall we? Let's get to it. Question 1 today. I remember a video you did of a Golden Plexi to simulate crunch channel. Tried a blues driver and it sounded rubbish. Tried another one, but the tone wasn't fat enough. Have I used anything other than the Golden Plexi to get this sound? I use a Black Star headed to a Marshall cab. Yes. Other than the Golden Plexi by Tone C, I use one pedal I'm really enjoying using at this point in time is the Jackhammer JH1. Insert little screen video thing now. Yes, that's one. It's a really awesome pedal. Like it's got two settings. It's got overdrive and distortion. Distortion setting isn't that great, but the overdrive for those kind of crunchy, kind of cleanish kind of sounds are really cool. And that's my phone. Do be quiet. It's just a really cool pedal. It's very you got a lot of EQ on. Like you got a lot of EQ options on there. You got treble, bass, frequency and contour, so it gives you a lot of kind of variety. But I really like it. It just sounds really cool for those kind of it does really cool sound. This is just the orange. So super clean, but he just kind of the Jackhammer just fattens it up, exactly like the Golden Plexi does. So yeah, the Jackhammer by Marshall, the JH1, that is an awesome pedal for that. Trying to think of any others. The Marshall Governor 2 Plus gets close, but it's not quite there. Plus the Jackhammer, every pedal you put after it loves the Ibanez wire and the DS2. The DS2. You get your Ibanez wire off. So it loves pedals. It really does, and then you get full. So yeah, it loves pedals, like, you know, whatever you put after it. So yeah, I'd recommend the JH1 by Marshall if you can get one of those as well. So yes, moving on to question 2 now. Have I ever studied jazz? What are my thoughts? Well, answering kind of thing. I have studied jazz, yeah. I studied gypsy jazz for a while, Django Reinhardt, but I just didn't get on with it. It doesn't. I don't like it as much as I like other stuff. You also asked, what are my thoughts on jazz guitarists? Jazz guitarists are scary people, especially people like Borelli Green and Django Reinhardt, and like people like Wes Montgomery and Pat Metheny and people like that. They're terrifying, but I don't listen to them as much as I listen to someone like Jimi Hendrix or John Frusciante. They're just jazz as a music doesn't really appeal to me. It just doesn't do anything really for me. What are my thoughts on jazz theory? I don't know, because it's kind of each their own, really. I don't go that heavily into theory. I mean, jazz guitarists go very deep into theory. But I don't like that. I like to play more kind of like, you know, what I feel, not necessarily what I know, so to say. If that makes any sense. That probably doesn't make any sense. But I hope, you know, if you know what I mean. I just don't like that slave to the power of theory kind of thing. You know, I prefer to be kind of like, just kind of free to play how I kind of want, not thinking about what I have to do when the chord changes in 5 seconds. You know, I don't like that mindset. It really bothers me. And you also ask, how important is it to study jazz if you want to be a pro musician? Sorry, technical glitch there. But yeah, yeah, I don't think it's like hugely important to learn jazz, you know, and that kind of thing. Really, if you kind of like, you learn what you want to learn at the end of the day, and if you know if you don't learn it, you know, you're not going to be worse off for it, regardless of what some people might think or say. You know, if you don't want to learn it, don't learn it. Learn what you want, because it can get a bit excuse me, what's the word? Stifling, really. If you're kind of learning things you don't want to know, it kind of kills the fun. So, but yeah, I do think jazz and jazz guitarists and jazz theory is amazing, but only if you want to kind of go that way. And you know, I went that way for a bit and I hated it, and I came back to playing the way I like to play, because I went that way because that's what I thought you did. You know, I was down in London studying music, and I thought that's what you did, and I hated it, so I didn't do it again. But yeah, I don't think it's massively important, but you know, the jazz guitarists are amazing. Jazz theory, if you want to learn it, go, you know, you can go right ahead and do it. It's mad. It's absolutely insane learning jazz theory. It blows. I had a hard time understanding it. But anyway, I hope that answers your question. And yes, aha. Yes, question 3 now. What advice can you give to somebody who plays using theory more than feel? I know lots of theory, but I feel my playing is a bit boring. Speaking about theory again, the only advice I can kind of give you is to basically shut that part of your brain off. That kind of part that goes, oh, we're in E. The chord progression is E minor and D major. So in E minor we can use E minor pentatonic and G major, and we can use this, that, and the other. But as soon as we change to D major, we can actually use B minor pentatonic and D major scale. That theory voice needs to be turned off, and you just need to just play. It's a really hard thing to do, because coming back to when I was being taught in London, when I went to the Institute of Contemporary Music in London, it was I got very stifled by this theory playing. It started to drive me. It started to kill the guitar for me, if I'm being perfectly honest. It really started to kill the love and the fun. Well, not the love, but definitely the fun of playing, because I was analysing what I was doing, and I hate analysing what I do. I don't think about what I do, you just do it. And that comes from listening to people like John Frusciante and Jimi Hendrix. And Jeff Buckley once said, you make the best music when you're unconscious to what you're doing. You know, and I think that is absolute key to the kind of like the fundamentals of playing music. Is the more you're unconscious to what you're playing, and you're just playing, you're part of the music instead of just kind of like playing the music, the better it'll be for you. You know, because you can get carried away with just being theory based, and I think it can kind of get a bit stifling and a little bit boring, and it does turn you into a little bit of a robot. You know, not to sound horrible, but you know, it's some guitarists that I've come across who are very theory based are very kind of robotic, and it's very kind of like, you know, you want to do this, I can do that. If you want to do that, you can do that. Yeah, it's great, you can play anything you want, but it's not very. You don't feel it like you'd feel Jimi Hendrix playing it, or you don't feel like Jeff Buckley or John Frusciante or any of those people. You don't feel it the way they feel it, because they're totally not thinking about what they're doing. They're just doing it. So it's just a case of turning your mind off. It really is. Yeah, that's all I can really say, really. I hope that's answered your question. Again, I'm always dead afraid that I'm not answering these questions very well. I'm just kind of going off on this long-winded tangent. But yeah, to play more with feel, it is just a case of don't think about what you're playing. Just enjoy playing and just listening to music and just being part of it instead of kind of analysing it. Over-analysing just can kill it. It really can. So just enjoy it and just be part of it and just kind of go with it, instead of kind of going, well, this change is coming in a minute, so I can do this, that, and the other. You know, and sticking to one key is a cool thing. If your chord progression is E minor, D major, and C major, just stick to E minor, pentatonic. You know, simple. Just go really simple. Strip it right back to the simpleness, and just go from there. And don't overcomplicate things. You know, just keep it as simple as you can. So yeah, hope that's answered your question. Moving on to question 4 now. Okay, so question 4 is, how do you adjust the truss rod on a 62 reissue strat? With much difficulty. To adjust the truss rod, because the truss rod adjustment screw is here on a 60s reissue Strat. So to get to it, really, what you have to do is to take the neck off and adjust it, and it's an absolute pig. You can see why some people route out a little groove in the wood there, and then scrape away their scratch plate so they can actually get something in there to adjust it. But if you don't have that done, you have to really kind of take the neck off. Some necks sit high enough in the pocket where you can kind of get to it, but not really. So I would say the best thing is to do is unfortunately is de-string it, take the neck off, sight the neck, adjust it, put it back on, and just hope for the best. I'll do a video on it at some point. It is a pig, it's an absolute pig. But one thing I will say is that unless your neck's got a back bow, I don't feel there's much need to adjust it that much. You know, if there's relief in the neck, that's not the worst thing. A back bow is bad. A back bow is really bad. But an up bow, I wouldn't say it's the worst. I mean, I like substantial relief on my guitar neck. I really like it kind of curving up. I don't like it perfectly straight. It really annoys me. But saying that, when I set the truss rods with no tension on neck, I always have the neck flat. Because that way I know when I put the tension on the strings, it will pull it up to exactly where I want it. So I always kind of set the truss rod. I take the necks off. Say, for instance, I'm doing my white Strat. I take the neck off. I adjust it so the neck's kind of straight as it can be, and then put it back on, and then string it back, put it back to tension, and it normally kind of the relief's kind of there. And if it's not, I have to take it off again and slacken it off a little bit more. But it is literally quarter turns on a truss rod. They're so sensitive. So if it's a good truss rod, which 60s reissue ones are normally pretty cool. So yeah, it's not easy, but it's quite cool. Historical wise, I suppose. But yeah, you have to really kind of take neck off to adjust the truss rod on a 60s reissue. So, hope that's answered your question. I'll do a video on it at some point. Next time I restring my guitar, I'll try and do a video on it. Try and remember to do a video on it, should I say. Okay, so moving on to question 5 now. Okay, so question 5 is cool. I love this question. If you had the opportunity to talk to John Frusciante, what kind of conversation would it be, and what would you like to ask him? As far as wanting to ask him anything, I don't know what I'd want to ask him. It'd be one of those things where I would just like to sit down and talk to him about music and his philosophy of music, and try and get inside his head, so to say. That's one of the things I'd like to do. I don't know what I would have to be in the moment to know what I'd want to ask him if I actually met John Frusciante. That'd be kind of one of those things. It would have to be left to that moment to do it. But I would love to talk to John. Whether it'd be as good as I would think it would be, I don't know, because I'll probably never give a chance to actually speak to him. But stranger things have happened. But yeah, I'd just love to speak about music to him. Just sit there and just talk about music for hours and hours, and to jam with him on the guitar would be life-changing. That'd be cool. That would be insanely good. But to and just to sit and listen to him talk about his philosophy on music would be cool. I don't think I would want to ask him anything. I think I'd just let him talk. It's like that documentary, Heart is a Drum Machine documentary, where he's just talking for like 40 something odd minutes. It's just fascinating just to hear him speak. It's like the way Jimi Hendrix spoke and Jeff Buckley, but the way they speak about music is just like incredible. So yeah, I don't think I'd probably ask him anything. I'd just let him talk, and kind of go from there, really. Yeah, it'd be cool. I'd love to speak to John Frusciante. It'd be ace. That'd be like a dream come true. Anyway, yeah, that's. I hope that's answered your question 5. Moving on to question 6 now. Okay, so question 6 is, I'm having difficulty using my thumb. I have to use the side of my thumb, and it's not a very clean sound. Any tips to get better? I use the side of my thumb to when I let me come over. Let me show you. I hope you'll be able to kind of see. I hope it's not too blurry. But when I'm doing a chord like this, I'm using the side of my thumb. It's not like that where it's kind of flat on. I do apologise for the dirty fingernails, but I've been playing guitar a lot this morning, as is my custom. But anyway, yeah. So I use that part of my thumb. There's kind of like a groove there, and it's calloused up. So that's how I would play it, and it's also really far back. You can see it actually makes contact with the fret wire here. So, you know, that I use the side of my thumb. Tips to getting better at it is just literally keep doing it over and over and over again. There is no kind of quick way. I started playing my thumb over maybe 3 to 4 years into playing guitar when I got into like Jimi Hendrix. I did it a little bit, but it was mainly when I got into Jimmy I started playing my thumb over the top a lot more. You know, I've been playing 15 years now, so it's took me a long time, and it's only in the last like 5-6 years I've been really comfortable doing it to a point where that feels alien and that feels correct. So there's no kind of quick way. It's just a case of doing it over and over again and letting your hand learn and just like, you know, learning where it needs to be, and just kind of like, you know, your playing will get cleaner over time. It just takes time, that's all. So yeah, hope that's answered your question. Moving on to last question today, question 7. Okay, so question 7 today is, how do I go about holding the plectrum? How do I recommend it so your hand is relaxed without the pick falling out of it? Holding a plectrum is really kind of a very kind of personal thing. Like, Eddie Van Halen holds it between his middle finger and his thumb, which is really strange. Yeah, I can't do it. It's weird. It's his thing. But you know, gypsy jazz guys hold it kind of sideways like that. It's dead strange. But the way I hold it, for what that's worth, is between my first finger and my thumb, and depending on what I'm playing, well, I hope, you know, that's how I hold my plectrum. Let me see if I can kind of get in. That's how I hold the plectrum. So it's, you know, and it is very kind of like, you know, I can literally just kind of pull it out of my fingers. You know, there's no real grip there when I've just kind of like got it and I'm just kind of. But if I start to dig in, I start to kind of like bend it. I use very thin plectrums, so it's. I always ever use those two fingers, and varying different intensities, but the kind of key to it is having a relaxed wrist. Your fingers can be really clamping down on the plectrum. As long as your wrist is relaxed, you're kind of okay. You know, to an extent. You don't want to be kind of like playing for long periods of time, you know, really gripping the plectrum, because it will hurt your wrist. It'll tire your wrist out fast. But that's a really hard one to answer, actually, because it's such a personal thing. I just kind of grip it just as best I can with those two fingers, and just kind of like. I tend to anchor my fingers a lot between the pickup, well, kind of on the middle pickup a lot. Just kind of different intensities on it, but your wrist should always be relaxed. You should always be relaxed in your wrist. It's kind of like key to anything, unless you're Billy Joe and then you play from your shoulder. But I don't know what that face was, but anyway, yeah, I use those two fingers and just kind of like grip it just enough so it can't fall out of my fingers, but not hard enough, not tight enough where I can't pull the plectrum out really easy in my fingers. It's a very funny thing. It's a very kind of personal thing, actually. I've never analysed this. This is really kind of hard to answer. Oh, I'm struggling. I'm really struggling. Yeah, it's a funny thing. I don't know. Yeah, because I'm gripping. I've got, again, that's not. I'm not really gripping the plectrum that tight if I'm doing that kind of thing, but it's quite a heavy attack. And I don't know if that's because I'm using thin plectrums or anything. I don't really know. But yeah, I really don't know. I tend to use the point a lot most of the time of the plectrum, but holding it, I tend to use the first and thumb all the time, and just kind of anchor my other fingers around the middle pickup, just to kind of like, you know, unless I'm doing kind of like strummy kind of funky stuff or just strumming chords. But that normally kind of gets me into different kind of intensities and whatnot. When I shred, I have to use the side of a plectrum. I can't use the tip when I play super fast. Not that I can play super fast, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I don't know. I hope I answered that question. Now, it's probably a bit of a vague answer, but it's a funny thing. I've never really kind of thought about that. It's quite a hard thing to kind of analyse yourself and to understand why you do certain things, because I don't analyse myself at all. Yeah. So yeah, all I can say is I use these two fingers and I just grip it tight enough so I can pull it out of my fingers if I need to, but not enough so it's going to spin and it's going to fall out my fingers. I hope that's answered your question. I'm sorry, that's pretty vague. But yeah, I hope that's answered your question. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and yes, I'll see you again on Friday for another video. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great morning, afternoon, and good evening. Goodbye now. Oh, plectrum theories. I have to go and think about that.